All right, we're going to take you right out of Tallahassee, where Governor DeSantis is again addressing the media with the latest update on COVID-19 here in the state of Florida.
Two of them, these two, have U.S. citizens on board. I think the Zandam has, 40, 50 Floridians. So I think we have an interest in making sure those folks come safely. Some of these other ships are all foreign nationals, and that obviously would be something that would be difficult for us to accommodate in Florida, given what we're facing in South Florida. But I think that there's a relatively small number of people on those two ships who are going to need medical care in the hospital. I think the accommodations have been made, and I think that, that things are going to be done very thoughtfully. As the foreign nationals leave, they're going to be leaving on chartered planes. They're not going to come in contact with the general public. It's going to be a very controlled exit from these ships. And so I just want to thank everyone who was involved with that. Tough situation, but I think that they've handled it very, very well. Today, I signed an executive order on reemployment assistance. As many people know, this was a major jolt to the economy of the state of Florida. Just thinking about the scale of this, in 2019, Florida had a total of 307,701 claims for reemployment assistance. In the last 2 weeks, we've received 348,511 claims. From August of 2018 till February of 2020, the contact center took a total of 2.39 million calls. DEO has taken 2.1 million calls this week alone. So we're in a situation where this system is not handling the needs of the people of Florida in an adequate way. And so we need to do more to be able to get relief for the people of Florida. And so what I'm doing today with my executive order, and I've already had the call with all our agency heads, but I'm directing all agency heads to identify and deploy agency employees to assist DEO with their reemployment assistance efforts, including call center operations and other citizen services. We have, I think, about 25,000 state employees who are either telecommuting or non-essential and have told to stay at home. We wouldn't need all that, but we certainly could use some. And so different agency heads are already working to figure out how they could bring this manpower to bear. I think this requires all hands on deck. We have a lot of state government functions that are generally important, but just aren't as important right now given what we're dealing with. So we want to be able to utilize all the manpower that we have. I've also been in contact with AT&T and Verizon about ways we can do calling that would work well in an age of social distancing, where people could be able to do this potentially from their homes. And so this is a very, very top priority, so that people, because I think people, when you have these abrupt changes, to just be able to talk to someone on the phone, or to know that you submit something and it actually goes through, obviously you want to be able to get the assistance, but if you can at least have a system where people are able to get in touch with somebody, I think that would give people a lot more peace of mind. And of course, I've also directed, as you're able to expand this, we want to work on the processing to be much quicker than it has been in the past. And so we're willing to put manpower for that as well. Because this whole web platform is overloaded, people should be able to fill out a paper application if that's an option for them. We shouldn't limit how they're able to apply, and so we're going to beef up the call centers. I've ordered them to beef up or create an alternative for online submissions. But at the end of the day, if people want to submit an application in person or drop it off, then we should be willing to accept that. So I've ordered them to make all available options available for people to be able to do that. And then I've asked, I'm ordering the Department of Economic Opportunity to immediately purchase on an emergency basis additional capacity, software, technology, and other resources as needed to ensure the state's call center, website, and staff can accommodate the increasing volumes of applications and queries. This is I wish I could say that this is just something that's only going to last a couple weeks, but I think that, this is not something that you can just turn on and off an economy like this. So we need to expand the capacity, but just understand that this is going to be a problem, that could be with us, more than just a couple weeks. So I think that that's going to be something that will be very much needed. So in terms of our economic priorities, this is our top priority, to be able to field the calls and be able to respond appropriately to the people of Florida. And I have all agencies now working on, and we've already just today been able to identify some pretty interesting options, and I think we're going to continue to build on that and really bring a lot of force to bear. So I told everyone, you need to be making plans and identifying people right now so that we can deploy them immediately. The other executive order I've done today relates to mortgage foreclosure and eviction relief. We're suspending foreclosures for 45 days and also suspending evictions for 45 days. I'm not sure that you're going to rent out a lot of new places right now anyways, but nevertheless, you just never know how people act. So given the circumstances, I think that those suspensions are warranted. An update on the travel: we've screened by air and car almost 11,000 people since my executive orders went into effect. And again, the folks that are coming from hotspots like New York City or New Orleans are required to self-isolate for 14 days upon entering the state of Florida. We are looking at, as you look at some of the statistics about what we're seeing with caseload here in Florida, probably the number one message from the beginning for us has been, those people who are 65 and older, particularly if you have an underlying condition, you really need to be staying at home and limiting your contacts with people because of the way this virus affects those in that age group. If you look at Florida's cases, 25% of the cases are with people 65 and plus. 54% of the hospitalizations in Florida have been 65 and plus, and 86% of the fatalities have been 65 and plus. So please heed that directive to stay at home as much as possible, and please limit contact with others. We want that for everybody, but particularly in that 65 and up category, or people that have serious underlying conditions. Those are the folks that are the most at risk from this disease. We are continuing to monitor the bed availability. Numbers have been pretty similar. You see little movements here or there, but most of the major areas in terms of availability percentage are in the 40% range. But obviously, we're continuing to monitor that as well. There have been some questions about my order yesterday involving essential services and essential activities, and people will say, well, can I go fly a kite? Can I do this? Can I do that? And I think the way to think about it is, when you're limiting people to essential services and essential activities, the goal is to reduce contacts with people outside the home. That is why, that is in place. And so it's less important what you do than how you do it. For example, if you want to go for a 10-mile run by yourself and come back, more power to you. But you wouldn't be able to do a 20-person road race in the neighborhood with 19 of your friends. So is running an essential activity? Yes, if it's done consistent with social distancing guidelines. You could go, if you have a basketball hoop in your driveway, go shoot hoops all day. That's fine. But you're not going to be able to do a 5-on-5 pickup game where you're going to be in close contact with other people. Someone wants to take their son fishing? By all means, go do it. But you're not going to be able to get 25 people on a boat and go fishing in some type of group outing. So less important about, can you do X or Y, but simply how are you going to do X or Y? And if you're engaging in activity that doesn't involve close contact with other people, you're going to be fine. If you are doing things, even if you're staying at home, and you have 10, 15 people at the house, that's going to be close contacts with people, and that's what we're trying to avoid. So if you think about it that way, what we're trying to do is reduce the transmission of the virus. Viruses have different reproduction rates, and this is a virus that typically transmits when people are in close contact with somebody else. And so if you can refrain from that, we can reduce the transmission rate. And if you reduce the transmission rate far enough, the virus can eventually have fewer places to go. So that's what we're trying to do on that. And I know people have had a lot of questions, but just think about, if I'm engaging in essential service or I'm engaging in essential activity, am I doing it in a way that's limiting contacts? And if you are, you're probably going to be okay. If you're doing things that have a lot of contacts, then it's not going to be okay. And with that, happy to take some questions.
And you're listening to Governor Ron DeSantis giving us an update now from Tallahassee.